Outpost Centers International has almost 300 ministries now scattered in about 76 countries of the world. It's an amazing network that we have scattered around the world, but the vision is actually to have a thriving network of lay ministries operating in every country of the world. What we have learned, though, is something very interesting. There may be countries that are well reached according to the, quote, statistics for population and our presence in that country as a Seventh-day Adventist church. But sometimes there are pockets or remote regions of those countries where the gospel has not yet entered. Today, we're talking with Alicia Harding in the country of Zambia. Alicia and her husband Craig are the leaders of Riverside Farms. It's an Outpost Centers International project there in Zambia. However, the vision of Riverside is not just to reach their neighborhood, but is to reach the remote regions of Zambia and even to reach outside of Zambia. Crocodile Island is in the remote regions of Zambia, though. It's situated in northern Zambia, but on the southern part of Lake Tanganyika. This island is not only remote, but has been considered dangerous and unreachable with the gospel. However, this challenging situation has become one of the focal points for the Riverside Outreach Team and Mission Team. Alicia, it's good to talk with you today regarding the work that Riverside Farms is doing on Crocodile Island. But first of all, tell us just a little bit about how you and your family got to Zambia.
Yes. Well, that was actually an answered prayer 7 years ago. My husband and I had a prayer asking God if there was anything else he wanted us to do and focus on in serving him. And he gave us a call to Riverside. And at the time we had 3 children, and then they were ages 2, 4, and 6. And then 7 years later, we now have 4 children, ages 5 to 13.
Praise God. Praise God that you and Craig have answered the call to go to Zambia. But how did Riverside get involved in Crocodile Island? It's a long ways from you.
Very long ways away. It's a 2 days drive, and that drive is a very rough road. So every year, actually twice a year, our evangelistic team here goes out and reaches a village that needs Jesus. And for the past 4 years, we have been focusing on Lake Tanganyika and working the villages along the shore. Earlier this year, I think it was January, February, my husband went and did an excursion and scouted out the area and identified Crocodile Island as a place with lots of need.
So there's a lot of need on Crocodile Island, but during this journey of kind of ramping up to this project when you're actually going there were some challenges. Just give us a brief view of some of those challenges of even getting this thing planned and starting to get there.
Yes, lots of challenges for Lake Tanganyika, for Crocodile Island specifically. The culture there is a lot of drunks. Most of the men there drink all night long, and the children are just left to kind of raise themselves. The children are very undisciplined, and they just get into a lot of trouble there. There's, besides the alcoholism, there's cannibalism. There's a guy there that admitted he was into cannibalism. He was a murderer, demon possession, witchcraft, sorcery. All that is very prevalent on this island. And in preparation for doing the outreach there, the plan was to do 3 evangelistic crusades in 3 different sites for a population of 5,000. And my husband said this was the most challenging in all the years working with the crusade team, of just logistical and so many different things going wrong. But during the process of not just getting the program going, but working through the crusade, the team working there was so many things, from like the bus traveling the team out there hit someone, and that really jeopardized the team getting there. My husband, when we were driving out there, a person darted out in front of him and he almost hit someone. The whole camp got sick one night, and then one of our medical team members got electrocuted. Thankfully, he was grounded, but the voltage was strong enough to kill him. Just equipment that had been in perfect working order right before the meetings, the projector and the speakers would just go out and stop working. The truck that was supposed to deliver all the church building supplies was hijacked, and there was a lot of corruption going on, and there was we didn't think we were going to see the supplies again. And that was a miracle that we did. When they were building the churches, after the end of the crusade, there were fires that were not started by anyone. And as they were building the church, these fires would just start popping up all around the church, and they would put them out, and they get back to building the church, and another fire would pop up out of nowhere, not started by anyone. And so that's just a fraction of so many things that were happening, just trying to, like, you could just see the devil's trying to delay and discourage the work being done. But the night that they preached on what the Bible has to say about witchcraft and sorcery, which was so prevalent in this community, was the most intense day of it all. And it started with a storm, a lake storm, and it was a perfectly beautiful day. And the medical team was going to cross the lake to go serve in a village across. And that beautiful, peaceful lake turned into a storm that almost capsized, and they almost drowned. They didn't capsize, but it was through prayer and singing and worship that God got them back to shore. And people who were on the hills on the side watching this, they said that someone was supposed to die in that water. And the boatman himself, who was directing this boat, said, there are demons in this water. And so even those who witnessed this scene knew that there was something going on, that someone was trying to be stopped from what they were doing. That same day that they had the storm, our vehicle broke down. And when we fixed whatever the problem was, we were like, okay, good. We were back on our way again. My husband started the engine, and the engine failed. And so this leads me to the part of the story where my husband is stranded on the side of the road after a day's drive, or 2 days, going on day 2, stranded on the side of the road, while me and some children, we just kind of consolidated into the 2 remaining Land Cruisers, and continued on our way with the plan to come back and get him when we got help.
Yeah, so it was at that point in the story where I became aware of some of these things happening. It was early in the morning, as I recall, and I started getting text messages. There's been an accident with the mission team that's on its way to Crocodile Island. And so I know it was you and your children, and just tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yes. So I was with another driver at that point, and we had been driving for 2 days, and we were 45 minutes from our destination when all of a sudden our vehicle, without warning, lost control. We had a trailer behind us, and all of a sudden I realized we are about to hit the side of the mountain, and I didn't even have time to clear my thoughts or even to pray, but I was just bracing myself for this impact. And we hit really hard on the side of the mountain. Our trailer dehitched and was thrown off the road. And then as soon as we made that impact, we started rolling. Our vehicle bounced off and started rolling to passenger side, my side. And at that point, I was disoriented. I didn't know if we were up or down or still rolling or what was happening, until we came to a stop. And that was the scariest moment, because we landed actually back up on our wheels, and everything was completely silent. And so, of course, my first thought is to check on the children behind. And I turned around, and it was pitch black. I couldn't see anything because of the cloud of dust that was blocking the light. And it was quiet. And then all of a sudden, all the children just started screaming and crying. And then all at once, they were all screaming, Winston, Winston, who's my 5-year-old boy. And what had happened was, when our vehicle rolled, his head was thrown out the window and dragged on the ground below. And it had pulled his scalp back, and it was embedded with rocks and glass and dirt. And of course, he was bleeding, and the kids had blood everywhere, and they were crying about where they were hurting. So as soon as I assessed that, the children were alive, and seeing how serious all this was, I remember that the tragedy of this moment just hit me to a new level as my heart sank, as I was helping to stop the bleeding on his head, and thinking, my son's a trauma patient and he needs to get to the hospital. And then I realized, where are we going to go? Where are we going to take him to get help? We're 2 days away from help. And my heart just sank to a whole new level. And at that moment, it was just all prayers and just trusting God's promises to come through. And he did. He provided so many miracles.
Yeah, I can only imagine a mother's heart as she is dealing with a severely injured child in that situation 2 days from medical help. By God's grace and through His power and some miraculous happenings there, your son was able to be evacuated to the capital city of Lusaka and receive proper care. But I know that a mother's heart doesn't stop just because their son gets proper care. And this had a great impact on you. I read one of your posts on Facebook about this whole journey and how you got a new revelation, as it were, of this intensive battle between good and evil. And so just share with us your experience and how that affected you.
Yes, it was truly miracle after miracle, and I wish I had time to share of all the things that God did to just provide for the whole team and getting my son help. But before this all happened, God had given me a promise to claim, and I didn't even know I needed it at the time. But I was thinking of sort of a theme to focus on during our time there. And God put in my mind 2 Corinthians 4:6-9. For God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, hath shined in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellency of the power may be of God and not of us. We are troubled on every side, but not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. And afterward, when I was, after we got through this experience and I started realizing all these other experiences that everyone else had been having during this time, it was like God was preparing me ahead of time with His word, and I didn't even know I needed it, but it brought so much encouragement and clarity that the whole purpose, what was going on there, was shining God's light through the deep darkness in that community. And we were the earthen vessels God was choosing to carry the great treasure of Jesus and His word. And the devil was not happy. This was an attack from the enemy to see His word go forth. And yes, we were troubled, and not just our family, but the team in different ways and different aspects were troubled and distressed and perplexed. We were cast down, but we were not destroyed. And that brought me so much encouragement and hope that Jesus was in charge of this situation. We were working for Him, and He was going to enable and provide as needed to accomplish His work and His will there.
Alicia, thank you for sharing that very unique perspective that God gave you during this journey. 3 churches now exist on Crocodile Island. Praise God for what He has done, and praise God for His protection for your family. But it doesn't end there. Friends, there are many more regions in this part of the world that need to hear the gospel. Alicia, how has this impacted your passion and commitment to missions?
Honestly, I'm just more excited to go back. I'm more fervently praying for the people there because I know what a grip the devil has had on them. So it makes me more fervent to pray for them and more excited and passionate to go back and continue to nurture and share with this community.
We want to inspire more people to get involved in missions. We want to encourage you to do something. You can pray for these regions of the world, and you can ask God to give you a burden and to take you somewhere in this world where you can serve Him, whether it's to your neighbors or halfway around the world. It's an opportunity for you to get inspired to do something for God. Outpost Centers International is focused on reaching some of these difficult areas. Would you join us in praying? Would you join us in supporting the ministries of Outpost Centers International that are reaching some of these most challenging areas of the world?